Hello, this is Pat Lynch, and this is As the World Turns or Burns, Special Edition.
Hi there. This is producer Jayson in the post-production. And I just wanted to let everybody know that while, yes, Pat did mention that this is a special episode, he mentioned that it was a special episode because of our guest who's going to be on the show. You're going to see that in a moment. But this is also a special episode as well because you may notice that we are not in the normal KILT studio with our normal KILT studio backdrop. That is because this was recorded during the live Josh Project fundraiser event hosted by the Psych YouTube channel with Hannah and Kari. So the entire production is a little janky. However, we made it work and it was absolutely fantastic. The live stream ended up being a huge success as well. So you may notice that it's a little bit different, but I promise you the same high quality production is still coming from this episode and coming from the Josh Project live stream. If you have not already checked that out, there will be a link in the description to watch the replay. And in that replay, you can also go and donate to the Josh Project. It helps all the students on Lyon College's campus. So thank you.
We're bringing in Dr. Radek Szulga to talk about the economy, and he's our in-house economic expert, and he's going to help us through this. But first, got to just go on the record that normally every 2 weeks, I'm here with Brendan and Kieran, and I've talked to them, and I'm not promiscuous. I'm not cheating on them. I'm not, we still got a healthy relationship, and so they said everything's cool. I can bring in, go see other people. We kind of have an open relationship, if you will.
I did not know I was getting into this.
Yeah, he's the home wrecker, but nevertheless, welcome, Radek. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, reason is that there's a lot of things to talk about as far as economics. All right, so probably the thing right now that just one of the real important things is just tariffs in terms of, from an economist's point of view, what's the traditional look at why use tariffs, then kind of answer as far as here we are right now, and how they're being employed where's this all going? Because is it too late? Is it going to be permanent? Is it transitional? I don't know.
Okay, well, where do you want me to start, I guess?
Anywhere you want.
Well, so tariffs, generally seen as bad by economists, right?
Right.
They're a tax. They're a pretty inefficient tax for the amount of revenue they collect. So the general view of tariffs is fairly negative.
Why are they inefficient? Because it's pretty straightforward. Anything coming in the U.S., 10%.
Well, just like any tax, aside from lump sum taxes, any tax is going to cause distortions in the economy. It's going to alter people's behavior in the ways that they don't want, and will leave people with less money in their pocket. So how do tariffs operate? Where does the inefficiency come from? Well, when you buy goods from abroad, first of all, and this is kind of completely missed in a lot of the discourse about the tariffs.
Right.
The reason you're buying them from abroad is because they're cheaper.
Right.
So you're saving money by buying it from other countries. Just like, if I go to Walmart and I buy something, the reason I buy it from Walmart is because it's cheaper at Walmart than some other place.
Right.
So when you put in tariffs, you're basically cutting into the savings that people have.
Short term. Now, the part of the longer term strategy for tariffs is to kind of bring manufacturing back to the United States. Is that, from an economist's point of view, is that
well? But these aren't
thing?
just. So first of all, these tariffs right here, they're not just manufacturing tariffs.
Right.
They're across the board. And technically, if you had like a tailored tariff just on manufacturing, that probably would increase employment in manufacturing at the expense of employment in other sectors.
Right.
So when you have a tariff, you do help the domestic producers of import competing goods. Right? So if you're in an industry that competes with foreign producers and there's tariff, hey, that's really good for you.
Right.
but everybody else in society is poorer, which means they spend less money on other goods. So that causes other industries to do worse, right? And you can add up how much do the domestic producers benefit from a tariff, how much does everybody loses from a tariff, and it's basically negative.
Yeah,
the losses are greater than the gains. That's why it's inefficient.
Now, with when tariffs are collected, where is that money? I don't have a clear idea.
Well, it goes to the Treasury like any other tax, right? It's customs duties.
Okay, and so then the Treasury just will sit on it in an account, or where? I mean, then it's up to the government to spend it.
Right now, it goes into like basically just the general pool of funds.
Yeah.
Right? There is a proposal by some congressman, I forget which one his name, to set up a special fund with just tariff revenue, which would be used to pay down the national debt.
Right.
And that's gotten some press. But here's the thing. So far, we have record tariff revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
$88 billion, I think, as of now. And it's projected to be about $120 billion for the year. And $88 billion is not a lot of money. That's not the truth, right?
Okay. When you have trillions in
so
debt.
I think, and I've said this in other contexts before, but when we hear words that end in illions, our minds just kind of shut down.
Right.
We're innumerate. So you kind of know how, like, supposedly there are these, quote unquote primitive societies that can't count past two, like one, two, many.
Right.
They only have three numbers, 1, 2, and many. Okay, so they don't actually really exist. Like,
I think the administration wants one of them in the new Fed chair. That's a...
Yeah, maybe. But so these societies don't exist. But I think we're actually very similar in that when we hear anything that ends with illions,
right,
like, you just get stupid.
Right.
Right. We stop thinking. So when people hear about millions and billions, they think, oh, that would be a lot of money for me, so that must be a lot of money. But $88 billion in tax revenue, tariff revenue, that's not much at all. The current deficit is somewhere around, $4 trillion?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The debt is like $40 trillion. Not all of that is, not all of that is held by the public.
Right.
But, so you're bringing in $88 billion on roughly $30 trillion debt.
Right.
About $4 trillion deficit. I don't know exactly. I might be getting deficit number slightly
wrong.
Well, that's less than 5%. Right?
Okay. Scenario planning. Just projecting out, tariffs stay. They become kind of permanent. Sure. From an economist's point of view, what will that do as far as for the U.S. economy, for our competitive position globally?
So we haven't had tariffs these high since really
Smoot-Hawley?
Yeah, basically Smoot-Hawley. So about 100 years.
Yeah.
And of course, they're not as high as President Trump originally wanted them.
Right.
He scaled them back. So I think we went from like average tariff of maybe 5%. I don't know exactly, but somewhere in that ballpark. To tariffs that are 20-40%, and now we're back to like 15-18%.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't had tariffs that high in a very long time, which means it's kind of hard to say exactly what the impact will be. It's a little bit unprecedented, unless you want to look to other countries that tried it.
Right.
And that basically never worked out well.
Right.
One of the arguments, like, by people who support tariffs is that this will incentivize foreign companies to come and set up shop in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And that's at least theoretically possible, but it is very doubtful that it will happen on scale, and especially if there's a lot of this uncertainty that they will do it. If the government comes in and is going to slap, arbitrarily tariffs on foreign producers,
right,
then why do you think these foreign producers will say, "Oh, let me set up a factory in, Minnesota," right, and hope that tariff doesn't, somebody doesn't try to tax me my profits after I do that, right?
Right.
Who knows? Maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, somebody will decide that we need a tax on foreign producers within the United States.
Yeah.
So the uncertainty itself is going to probably kill on you that incentive effect.
Well, as far as our competitive position in the world, does this just open up to being less competitive versus China.
What do you mean by less competitive? Like, what does that mean?
That China will come in and just say, okay, for anything selling to the U.S., you got to pay this tariff. But so here, what they'll do is try to find a way for people out, like in South America, Europe, that we'll offer you all this whole similar range of goods, but you don't we're not going to tariff you. So it's like we're like making
so you're
goods
talking
more
about
expensive.
How will it affect our exports?
Yes.
Right. So there's actually something in economics called the Lerner equivalence theorem, which basically says that in the long run, a tax on imports, a tariff, is a tax on exports.
Right.
So by taxing your imports, you actually end up taxing your exports. So that, if that is true, and it's not like 100% true, it's not 1-for-1,
right,
but there's definitely that effect. Yeah, I mean, our exports will go down along with our imports.
Right.
Essentially, what happens once you have a tariff and gets settled in, people make their adjustment to it. Both your imports and exports go down, and you just have less trade, and that's it.
So then it's just, I hear that, and I think it's a sluggish economy that we're kind of building towards.
Yes, I mean,
yeah. In a word,
so tariffs are generally not okay. Tariffs do not help to increase the growth rate. Now, I think this is also a good point to kind of talk about the historical argument for tariffs, right? So 19th century tariff was the biggest issue in American politics after slavery.
Yeah.
Right? Antebellum, pre-Civil War, the biggest issue was, of course, slavery. Second biggest issue was the tariff. The South generally opposed the tariff. The North wanted the tariff, right? We're mostly importing manufactured goods from Europe, from England. And North wanted to set up its own manufacturing industry, so they wanted tariff. The South wanted to import those cheap British manufacturers. And there was even a tariff of abominations that kind of was the first quasi-secession crisis. I believe South Carolina threatened to secede over it. Didn't quite happen. They compromised. But the tariff was pretty high over the course of the 19th century. And some people make the argument that, look, this is actually when America got rich. 19th century. And that's when we had the tariff. There's even Kevin O'Rourke, who's an economist, wrote one paper about examining the effects of 19th century tariff. And he's like, yeah, it's true. There was a positive correlation there. So what is different? Well, first of all, the tariff was uniform. So generally speaking, if you're going to do tariffs, you just kind of want one flat tariff on everyone.
5% or
just on everyone, the same, right? And then second of all, it was just a different economy.
But the reason that the current administration has these various levels is they tied it to the respective deficits that we had, and they were quote unquote, there's these countries that are cheating us, and so we're going to tariff them to kind of even the score. So how do you see that, from a professional point of view?
So if you take the deficit in total, right, the trade deficit in total, and I think this is something that most people don't realize, it actually has nothing to do with trade, or very little to do with trade policy. Right, the trade balance for a country is really the difference between a country's saving and investment. And if you have more investment than saving, you end up with a trade balance.
Right.
That's just how this is calculated, right? It's accounting. So the United States is, it's still a very productive country. So we get a lot of investment, both domestic investment and investment by foreigners. But we are impatient. We have a low saving rate. And that's kind of true for like almost every country in the Western Hemisphere for some reason. So high investment, right? Low domestic savings. How do you finance that extra investment? You essentially have to finance it by running a trade deficit. So when you start tinkering with trade policy, that's not actually going to matter much unless you can change either your investment or your saving. One way to eliminate the trade deficit is to have lower investment. Well, that's bad because
Yeah.
then you're not accumulating capital, you're not growing your economy. The other way to do it is to have a higher saving rate.
Yeah.
That's very hard to do because people don't like to save. in
Right.
America. Yeah, we're not a nation of savers.
Right.
So how do you change people's preferences for saving?
Yeah.
You can offer tax treatments, things like that, tax incentives, but
Right.
it's a very different kind of policy than tariffs.
Okay.
So that's overall
yeah.
deficit.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And basically not going to eliminate it, or you will eliminate it, but in a bad way with this. Now, bilateral deficits. This is kind of what you were asking about.
Yeah.
Right? Are these countries that we have a big deficit from cheating? And the answer is no. That kind of has more to do with, the relative saving rates. Why do we have a big deficit with China? They
Yeah.
save a lot, we don't,
Yeah.
right? We also have deficits with other countries. Some are bigger and some are smaller. And at least kind of a long run picture is that it comes down to difference in saving rates,
Right.
investment rates.
If you had to predict, I know this as far as the constitutionality of tariffs is going to end up in the Supreme Court.
Looks like, yeah.
How do you see it playing out?
I don't know. That's a question for Brandon. or,
Okay.
Or Kieran.
All right.
Give us your opinion.
So, like, say I have to bet, right? Bet some money on how the Supreme Court.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I say chances are better than 50-50 that the Supreme Court is going to reject the tariffs.
Jayson, better than 50-50. Is that going on record, or do we have to press him a little bit on this one?
I don't know how much higher than 50-50, but no. I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Is it like the witness protection program?
Well, you should ask Brennan what he thinks.
Right.
What
All right.
odds would he give?
Yeah, I'll
Because
speak.
if he says it's under 50, then we can actually make the bet.
There you go. Oh, all right. Yeah, well,
We can make it interesting.
I'm going to get a little
Kids should not gamble. Don't gamble. So
Yeah,
gambling's
kids.
bad.
Gambling's bad.
It would be a gentleman's bet.
All right. The Fed.
All right. Are we done with tariffs?
Unless you want to cover some more. No more?
No,
I can come back
joking.
anytime.
Yeah.
No. The Fed. I get the thing starting out. Why is it so important to have an independent Fed?
Because politicians are really bad at monetary policy.
Okay.
That's the kind of the short answer. And this is basically across the political spectrum. Once Fed becomes captured by politicians, whether they're right-wing politicians or left-wing politicians, it always ends badly.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single example where you had political control of a central bank and you did not get very high inflation
Okay.
sooner or later.
So that's the end result typically is.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's guaranteed. So economics is not a perfect science.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff like we don't know. A lot of stuff, the data is really noisy. But you can measure central bank independence in various ways, and you compare it to kind of inflation over sufficiently long period of time. And, man, those dots line up in a straight line.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a very robust relationship. The more independent the central bank is, the lower the long-run inflation is.
But, it seems everything's politicized. The Supreme Court's supposed to be, blind justice, neutral, but it's clearly a 6-3 court. Trump is more or less said that, that he's keeping count as far as the chairs of the Fed in terms of who leans his way and who leans the other way. So,
It's kind of funny because traditionally the hawks, the inflation hawks, are the conservative members of the Fed.
Right.
I'm not gonna name any names just because.
Sure.
I don't want to
Yeah.
put them
no.
out there, but traditionally it is actually the Republicans that are more anti-inflation, so they like higher interest rates.
Yeah.
And even if they see unemployment going up, they might not be as ready to cut interest rates. But now it's completely flipped. A lot of standard ideas and
Oh, yeah.
political positions have completely.
Well,
flipped.
traditional Republican position would be anti-tariff and free trade.
Yep.
It would be for deficit reduction, not run up a big, beautiful bill.
Well,
And,
with that, that one has always been they talk a
Yeah.
good game, but when it comes to it, they run deficits like everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So ever since Reagan, everybody's on deficit, except Clinton. But
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, but so they talk it, and then they really double down when the other side's in office, and then they become
yes,
real fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
So
But
just say if Lisa Cook, Jerome Powell, they both leave. Either just sick of the harassment or they leave.
And Jerome Powell was appointed by Trump, actually.
Details, details.
Right.
But they both leave, and Trump gets in the people he wants. What I know there's doomsday scenarios, but what would, I guess the question is there anything? What could happen? What really, realistically could happen? There's possible things really bad, but realistically, what will happen?
I think there's there's a lot of precedents for this. Because actually, up until like early 90s, most countries, especially in Latin America, you had central banks that were controlled by the government.
Right.
Not just Central America, but also like New Zealand for a while.
Right.
I don't know if people are aware of that, but New Zealand used to have horrible monetary policy.
Yeah.
And then they cleaned up their act in early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Israel was the same way, also cleaned up their act in the early 90s. But I think for what's going on right now, there's kind of two cases that are relevant. One is the United States under Nixon, because Nixon also tried to bully the Fed at the time. And the other one, kind of more recent one, would be what happened with Turkey.
Yeah.
Right? So Nixon was there. He was running. This was before Watergate. He was running for re-election.
Mm-hmm.
He put a lot of pressure on the chairman of the Fed of the time, Arthur Burns, to get him to cut interest rates before the election.
Right.
And to basically juice the economy, make it look good for a while. Of course, the cost is always higher inflation.
Yeah.
Right? And again, this is plenty of examples. The Mexico, before the mid-90s, used to have the tequila crisis every 5 years, right? The tequila crisis was that every 5 years, there's a presidential election in Mexico.
Right.
So right before the election, the central bank, on the orders of the president, would cut interest rates, expand the money supply. The economy would boom for a while, and then after the election, once the incumbent won, that's when you get the crash, right?
So when was
you get the tequila hangover?
Okay, I was going to say, when was the tequila consumed? In the run-up. Okay, that makes sense.
So and this would happen in Mexico basically every year every 5 years up until I think 1995, right?
Yeah.
That's when Vicente Fox from PAN won the election, and that changed it actually. And basically that's what Nixon tried to do. And then if you think about it, the 70s were probably the most miserable decade in terms of economics in the post-war period, right?
Yeah, high inflation.
Yeah, even the 2007 crisis, that was bad, but okay, we got out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas 70s, basically from early on to the end.
Till somewhere in the 80s with Reagan, when it finally kind of broke.
It started recovering under Carter. Then you had the Volcker recession, which was to kill the inflation. And then, probably, I don't know, towards the end of Reagan's first term started getting better.
One of the big things Trump's, he's all this pressure on the Fed is that he thinks they're too slow on raising it or lowering interest rates. Why is that such a big deal? I mean, there's some obvious things, but I'm sure there's externalities with doing, changing those or lowering the rates. What's your point of view on that?
Well, so basically, if the economy, this is kind of conventional wisdom. There are macroeconomists who kind of deviate from it. Yeah. But if the economy's doing badly in terms of unemployment, so right, you have high unemployment and so on, you do want to cut interest rates, right, to kind of stimulate it. And if the economy is doing really well, so that it's overheating, it's kind of the phrase they use, so that inflation is a problem, you want to raise interest rates to get them back down, right? And basically what you're doing is changing the price of credit. If interest rates are low, it's easy to borrow, so you're going to get a lot of spending. If people are unemployed, they'll get hired, right? But on the other hand, if you're already at near capacity, you have really low unemployment and you're utilizing all your resources and people are spending, then rather than hiring more workers, firms just raise prices.
Right.
That's kind of the view of monetary policy. So what you want is kind of get the right interest rate so that the economy is not too hot and not too cold. Right? So the Fed has a dual mandate to keep unemployment low, full employment, and to reach price stability, which traditionally means keeping inflation at a particular level, about 2 to 2.5%. Right. That's the Fed target. And Trump basically wants lower interest rates to kind of boost the economy right now, which it would do. The problem is that the inflation might come back. Right.
Well, inflation sort of is. It just hasn't fully hit. Is that a fair statement?
Well, so there's the cost of tariffs. That's showing up somewhat in the price of imports, obviously.
Right.
And yes, so some prices are already rising, but overall inflation a little bit higher, but not that much. Yeah. Hasn't fully translated. Tariffs are going to add to inflation, but they're not going to drastically by themselves increase it. The United States is still a very large, diversified economy. So even with tariffs, foreign goods are going to be only a portion of that.
Right. Okay. The one,
but cutting interest rates could bring back inflation.
Yeah. One just kind of last thing, the labor market. That it was a couple things I read that was interesting. That it's the first point in years where the number of unemployed people exceeds the number of jobs. And
you mean like vacancies?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
vacancies.
There's a lot of jobs. Just most of them are filled.
Yeah, but layoffs are at a kind of a 5-year high. It was like that the worst part of the pandemic. It's back to at that particular level. Deportations.
I don't think it's as bad as the pandemic. I mean, during the pandemic, the unemployment rate really got high.
Yeah.
But the last few job reports have been not very good, and obviously that's where this was related to.
Then the head of BOS got fired. And then they just released the new one, and it was pretty kind of tepid, as far as
below expectations.
And so now there's like indicators that there's like a slowing a sluggish economy.
So there might actually be a perfectly valid reason to cut interest rates right now.
Right.
Independent of what President Trump wants, and the Fed might cut it anyway. Right. Not to please him, but just because it's the right. They think it's the right thing to do. The question is, will that be enough to satisfy him? Right. And also how much they do it, because now that you kind of get in a position where you're worried both about a weak labor market and rising prices.
Right.
So it's kind of like, which poison do we pick?
Right.
But at this moment, I don't think it's gotten like catastrophic.
Yeah.
It's not there yet. It's reasons to be worried, concerned. But there's the
sandworm came buzzing through.
That's the air conditioning.
Yeah.
Right. So the next Fed meeting, I believe is October or September. I don't know. But I expect they will probably cut interest rates.
Yeah.
But that should not be taken to mean that they're trying to appease President Trump.
There'll be he'll take a political bow for that, but maybe, final thing, like 1 year from now, what just with everything trending the way it is, and there's a lot of variables like will tariffs remain and whatever, but your prediction, what kind of economy will we have?
Oh man, so prediction is very hard, especially about the future.
Oh, we did. This is the best part. Yeah, and we all know the quote about the one-handed economist. So
right.
we got no, really. What do you see as far as I
think there's genuine reasons for concern, right? So the weak labor market, the tariffs, the independence of the Fed.
Yeah.
And parts of the economy were actually already slowing down under Biden.
Right.
Manufacturing actually has shrunk for the past 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So manufacturing is already in a recession.
Right.
Right. But manufacturing is only 15% of the economy. So
Right.
Again, I'm ballparking it. There's one report from Moody's which said that about a third of states are also in a recession.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these states are kind of small, like Idaho, Wyoming,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, full nationwide recession is not going to happen until it hits like the big populous states like New York, California.
Right.
That.
Yeah.
So right now we're not in a recession. I don't think we're actually on the brink of a recession,
Yeah.
but we can kind of see recession
Mm-hmm.
peeking out from underneath
Yeah.
the horizon. I think we're just gonna have a kind of stagnating economy for next year or so.
Yeah.
Full blown recession, I'll give it a fairly low probability,
Yeah.
20%.
Yeah.
Some kind of boom or robust economy, also very lower than
Yeah.
recession, but probably just kind of flat and meh for
Yeah.
the foreseeable future.
Well, real good. Well,
I hedged my bets there, right? Like
very much so. All right. Well,
if you gamble, always hedge your bets. So.
there you are. Yeah. So we had a break to we had a family member who was coming to see his granddaughter in a track meet. So producer Jayson was jumping in, providing directions, and that's what we do here in the KILT studio.
Serve the public.
Serve the public, and we served it well. Yeah, we served it well today with awesome economic advice, Dr. Szulga.
Is that all you need? All you want?
You want more?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh.
Not really economic.
Yes.
It's kind of, it applies. So suppose there's this Gen Z working crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Talk about that. What do you think about that? Do you think it's actually as bad as people say it is? I mean, it's not.
No. No. If you read anything on the internet and you want to ask the question, is it bad as they say it is? The answer is always no, right? So whatever kind of doom and gloom you see on the internet about economics, the answer is no, it's not as bad. It might even actually be the opposite. With this particular one, I don't know that much about it. I do know that the unemployment rate for new college graduates hasn't been
Right.
That's
doing.
what it was. It was like,
Yep.
So it was like people over the age of 22 to 30.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's 27. They're finding out that they're getting more jobs for people who don't actually have college years. Like the unemployment rate is
Yeah.
lower.
So usually the college graduate unemployment rate is lower than the no college unemployment rate, and this is like the first time, at least in a long time, that they one beat the other.
Right.
And this is actually so the standard story is that this is AI, right?
Yeah.
Basically, AI is replacing entry level jobs,
Mm-hmm.
so don't need to hire people because you can have AI do it. But the older people, because you also need the experience, the
Right.
institutional knowledge, all that. They're okay.
Right.
Um,
But the young people always get screwed. Yeah. It's like.
Yeah, that's why it's never
Yeah.
as bad as they say because, it's a little bit. But if you graduated from college in 2008, you
Right.
were really screwed.
Yeah. True.
Right. So it's not as bad as like 2008 people,
But-
right?
but-
Millennials. So.
But culturally, staying on that one of the things I don't know how to necessarily correct is home ownership.
Home ownership's fine.
But so many people are young people are priced out of the market. My daughter,
That is not
flat
true.
out- well, yeah, maybe it's where my daughter living in
Well,
Vermont.
how old
it's
is
in-
your? Actually, that's part of it.
Yeah,
But how old is your daughter?
32.
32. Okay. Well, home ownership rates are, believe around 66%, right?
Yeah, but it's all old heads like us, right? It's-
Not quiet because there is a turnover. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like I don't know when you want to compare it to. So home ownership rates peaked in 2005, 2006.
Right.
Right before the big crash.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when credit was really cheap. I think there's also was a whole bunch of statistical noise because people were buying houses to flip them, so they
Yeah.
weren't technically occupied housing. But how can you tell,
Mm-hmm.
right? So basically, home ownership rate is about the same as the beginning of the 21st century, right? And that was a peak already.
Yeah.
if you look at the composition, the population overall has been getting older.
Right.
There's just fewer young people out there.
Yeah.
So it's not really that different than it was in the early 21st century. Now, there is geographical distribution of this,
Yeah.
right? So on the coast, housing prices definitely have gone way up high. And yes, if you live on the coast, the Northeast, Florida, West Coast,
Yeah.
it very well might be true that you're priced out of the housing.
Yeah, it's
market.
almost like, when, now that we're going overtime, I wanted to get into abundance. Ooh,
Oh.
yeah. But it was like 2022 that some switch got flipped, and a lot of these places, like what you mentioned,
Is it 2022?
yeah, that home prices like went up 50% or doubled. It just
Yeah,
it was
so
like
since
it was
yes.
it was just and I know because coming from Atlanta, I had bought and sold just in Atlanta alone 3 homes. When I came here was December 21.
Atlanta's
So-
actually another place where it's
yeah, and where I typically a successful home sale was anywhere from 30 to 90 days. I sold my home to move here in 1 day, full price, and it was like
my sister actually her family lives in Atlanta, and
yeah,
they were shopping for a home. Maybe you should buy. But they said they'd make offers, and then
but it
they
was
say we'll pay the asking price, and then they get a phone call saying like, well, no, somebody jumped in front and paid cash,
yeah,
right?
right,
So it definitely was a hot housing market. And 2022, it's if you're talking about rising housing prices and this housing crisis that you talk about,
right,
since 2022 has definitely gone up.
mm-hmm.
There's something real going on. But you know what? You've heard people complaining about a housing crisis back in 2020, 2016, 2018,
right,
and there was really no housing crisis. So again, this is my if
Yeah.
you read it on the internet, it's probably not as bad as it says.
right,
Now for this one, I don't know, so this abundance thing and NIMBYism restrictions on housing, I mean, that's been around for a long time.
right.
I don't think it actually really has to do with anything with that.
Well, on abundance, that I read the book.
I borrowed it.
You borrowed the book.
I read like the first few chapters.
Okay,
And then
so-
school started and I had to prepare my classes.
All right. So always students first here
That's
at Lyon
right.
College.
Yeah.
But just with what you've read, do you think that's a legitimate economic, political platform for?
Well, I know about
for the
political,
future? Yeah.
economic platform, yeah. Definitely. I mean, I do think we have way too many regulations, and I'm not like a crazy libertarian or nothing.
Yeah.
We want to kill the government, drown it in the bathtub or anything, but sometimes you look around and you're like, yeah, we have too many regulations that don't actually serve the public.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, like zoning laws, a lot of housing regulations, they definitely drive up the price of housing.
Right.
And not just that. I think a lot of things that you just look around and see as getting more pricey is because of regulations. Of
Yeah.
Cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cars have gotten quite expensive, and it's not that really that. The main reason cars gotten expensive is that just nobody makes the cheap car version.
Right.
We used to have a range of cars you could buy. You could buy the
Right.
cheap car, you could buy the fancy car. and everything in between.
Subcompact. Now everybody wants to
Now
move
it's
up
just-
to an SUV and
Yeah, but it's not just demand. It's not just what people
Yeah.
want. It's also some regulations. Every car has now got to have the backup camera.
Right.
Emission standards. You just pile
Yes,
on these
yes,
costs.
yeah.
And once you pile on these costs, it becomes, you can have a small profit margin on a cheap vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to just stop making it because you can't cover your fixed costs, your overhead with that. And that just, the lower quality goods disappear from the market.
Right,
I
right.
think you see that happening a lot.
Yeah.
Also, like with restaurants, what happened to all the diners? The
Yeah.
expensive diner where you could go and get a cheap burger, and
Yeah,
you can still find them in gas stations and stuff.
sure. But
but a lot fewer. And I'm a person who likes cheap stuff.
there you go.
But when we go to the grocery store, I always get the most generic brand I can find. Yeah, Yes.
Oh man, I'm feeling a little insecure here as a marketing guy.
Yeah.
I remember when we went to Kroger.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, you got the fancy stuff.
Oh yeah. And this guy's slamming me. I bought you some stuff, so yeah. So, yeah. I let him ride on my dime. You know, it's.
Best bananas I ever had.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so just the disappearance of the lower quality but cheaper version, the affordable
Yeah.
version. I think that's where a lot of that comes in. And as an economic set of economic ideas, I think abundance does get it right.
Right.
Whether they're going to be popular economic ideas, politically popular,
Yeah.
that is a whole other question. Again, ask Brendan.
Yeah.
We can make some more bets.
Okay. Yeah. You.
But from what I see, this whole yimbism, yes, in my backyard, it's getting some traction.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. Economists. What economists do you follow? That you read? Are there people go to that you just enjoy
Well, I like
reading or
reading.
following?
I'm actually one of the people who likes reading stuff I don't agree with, that
Yeah.
I know I'll disagree
Yeah.
with. So just because I read them does not mean I endorse them,
Sure.
right? John Cochrane,
Mm-hmm.
he's a Nobel Prize winner, mostly writes about macroeconomics. He wrote a lot about the Fed policy and the developments with the Fed. I think he's always worth reading. On the other side of the spectrum, I do read Paul Krugman.
Yeah.
I do tend to agree mostly with Paul Krugman more often, but not always. But he's always
Yeah.
very insightful. Actually, brag a little bit.
Yeah.
Paul Krugman sent me an email.
Get out.
Yeah, I saw something he wrote on Substack, and I emailed him about it, and he wrote back.
No.
Yeah.
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 Shulga got me on Substack. It was good.
On Kruger? Yeah.
No, Substack.
Just reading essays on Substack. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because he's done really well, Krugman, on his Substack.
Yep.
You know, he left the New York Times, and I don't know if you get the free or the paid version, but it's like
New York Times or Paul Krugman's
Paul
called?
Krugman's Substack. It's like it's like
I
$80.
subscribe to only one Substack, and there's a guy writing about growing up in Aberdeen.
Aberdeen?
I just said I'm really cheap. Yeah. I'm really cheap, so I don't pay for Substacks. I just read the free stuff.
What's he talk about growing up in Aberdeen?
One of the greatest things ever written on the entire internet. I'm being genuinely serious.
What
The author is, look up Some Guy. I'm going to promote him. Can I promote him?
Yeah, let's but
Some Guy.
Some
That's
guy.
the name of the author. Yes.
He's just some guy.
Read the first paragraph
Yes.
of this story.
Now,
It's
is
not
it-
all about the growing up. A lot of it is about growing up in Aberdeen,
But-
which is home of Kurt Cobain. Yeah, so-
Okay, so but it's like what's it involve? Like barnyard animals and meth and
No, there it definitely involves math.
there you go.
Sentence of the entire thing is like when I was 8 years old, I watched my teacher die.
Oh, so it's like a love story. I love it.
In a way, it is though. In a way, it is. Right.
Is that's where where he was?
I don't think he was
Raised-
born there. He
But he,
spent
like,
time there.
Spent time
He
there.
went to high school there, and he references that kind of overlapped with him or something.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
But yeah, anyway, point is I'm cheap, so I don't pay for Substacks.
Sorry, Paul.
I buy the generic version of the goods, and I don't subscribe to anything.
Because we know Paul Krugman, you're listening, so keep emailing. But sorry,
subscription.
free subscription, please.
Justin Wolfers,
Yeah.
another guy.
Mhm.
I read a lot more articles, like journal articles,
Yeah.
than anything. Look through the NBER, National Bureau of Economic Research, working papers
Right.
on topics I'm interested in. See
Yeah.
what's going on. Economists aren't usually not necessarily good at political commentary.
Yeah.
You have to have a kind of separate talent for that. And I think Paul Krugman has it, and John Cochrane has it,
Yeah.
but it's much more about digging into the numbers.
Oh, real good. Well, I think anything more about the guy from Aberdeen?
I'm telling you, you have to read it.
I'm
I will
intrigued.
send it to you.
It's one of those things where when you read it, it just keeps getting better.
And by that he means it keeps getting worse.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yeah.
So it goes downhill from seeing his teacher die.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm intrigued.
No, it's seriously,
Okay.
if you could win a writing award for like craziest internet story of all time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
probably would get.
The title is something like Aberdeen is the south of the northeast or northwest, right? Yeah. So
They
like
hate that one other town too.
yeah, they hate the town. The next
Oh,
over.
so
But
you
they
think
let one guy from that town move to their town because he was so tough that they had to respect
Oh,
it.
so they got a thing like you think Aberdeen's bad. You know,
Yes.
you haven't been to fill in the blank. Which is
But-
the best part is, it's based. Aberdeen's in Washington.
Yeah.
State. And my grandpa has like 3 friends from Aberdeen too. My grandpa Jeff, he's like,
Yeah.
he's even more insane than the people in Aberdeen. Like he's a lumberjack. He goes and climbs trees out in the freaking mountains and
Yeah.
stuff.
so
So these stories are kind of confirmed.
yeah. So
They're
is
so true.
so is Montevideo the Aberdeen of Minnesota, or is that?
It's the drug capital. of Minnesota.
There you go. Okay. So you can.
Aberdeen. I don't know what the Aberdeen of Minnesota would be.
Yeah.
Probably like,
I can tell you what the Aberdeen of Alabama is.
What is it?
Decatur.
Really?
Maybe I shouldn't say that. But but no, the reason I actually like that Substack so much is
Yeah.
because the stories she tells reminds me of the stories my friends in college would tell about growing up in Decatur.
Yeah.
A lot of similarities. Like
How far is that from Auburn?
it's pretty far. It's close to Huntsville.
Oh, okay.
If you
got
want
it.
to
Yeah.
insult Decatur people,
Yeah.
like you want to make them mad,
Yeah.
tell them that they're a suburb of Huntsville. But you don't actually really want to insult Decatur people because they will mess you up.
Yeah.
They'll have no qualms because they're from Aberdeen of the South. So
Oh, that's too good. Well,
But-
we're going to end on a high note. You got to get to.
I gotta go cook dinner.
He has to go get dinner, and so thank you for listening and watching as the world turns or burns. Special economics edition.
Yeah.
Thank you, Radek.
and look up some guy on Substack and
yes.
subscribe to his Substack.
And if you ever get in touch with Paul Krugman, please just tell him to keep emailing Radek.
Before we go.
Yes.
But this was a long time ago. This is when I was in grad school. I had an email from Milton Friedman.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I emailed him. A lot of these Nobel Prize winning guys, they will actually just respond to you, right?
So what was his email? I kept.
He was really, really old. This was a couple of years before he actually died.
Yeah.
Freeman?
Yeah. So I just emailed, I don't even remember, some question. And he was like, oh, that's a very good question. And that was it. He didn't actually answer it. He just complimented me on the quality of my question.
There you go. Well, there you are. It's got a couple more brushes with greatness. So, Jayson, the name of it's some guy from Aberdeen. Is that
It's just some guy.
Yeah, it's just some guy.
some guy? Even better. All right.
And then the one thing I don't like though, I had to unsubscribe from the emails because like every single time they do any little thing,
Yeah.
email you,
Yeah, the notifications are, I know.
he's a little too active.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He also does a podcast, or he actually appears on some people's podcasts.
Yeah.
Woo. Oh, now I'm intrigued. But I better.
The podcast he was on was X-Telligence or something like that.
Yeah, there's something about that. So,
There's a conspiracy theory brewing there somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think I think he works in computer science.
Of course
So
he does.
So he has some opinions about AI, and
Yep.
some actually very reasonable.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, thank you again for listening to As the World Turns or Burns. We'll be back. The next week, actually, we'll get Brendan and Kieran back. Brendan's got a couple bets that he has to
that's
settle.
right. That's right. I'm
So
challenging him.
he's been
Calling you out,
challenged.
Brendan.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, on the last podcast, he said put all your money on the Steelers or the Jets.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Okay. Well, we have a fact checker behind the board.
So, apparently, this podcast is about encouraging people to gamble. Is that? I get, yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. You know, all kinds of questionable.
The economic benefits of gambling.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're negative.
Kids don't gamble.
$1 bajillion.
Yes.
There you are. Well, we better shut this party down. So thank you, and thank you, Jayson. Yeah, just all right. So take care, and we'll just keep liking and watching us, and we'll be back to you next week. Take care.
This podcast is sponsored in part by Lyon College and KILT Studios. Thank you to Jonah Winter for the intro and outro music.
Here, I'm trying to get producer Jayson's attention, and he's
Yeah, I'm trying to tell where
the track.
there's I think it's
Typically, it's around Bryan Lake, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Because Viga runs front. Yeah.
how this is set up. So okay, go down that road.
We'll be able to edit this.
Thing, like, section.
Yes.
That, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, no problem.
a little bit, but it's
Here, you want to come on camera? We can make you famous.